the study of the various material classes, and how they can be used for different applications to make things stronger, faster, lighter, more efficient, more effective. Let's get it. I'm super excited.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Awesome. And once again, family, this is the voice of STEM talent and Black culture. You can find all of our social media handles at the STEM Files on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Hosted by Tariq Cardiac, myself, and Jabril_engineer. And family, Jabril, would you like to go into what tonight's episode is dedicated to, or who tonight's episode is dedicated to?
Yes, sir, absolutely. So, family, for those in the Nation of Islam, close to the Nation of Islam, this episode is dedicated to our dear and late brother, student minister Jabril Muhammad, a long-time confidant, friend, of not only the Nation of Islam, but close, dear friend of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, and was very intrinsic and crucial to the Honorable Minister Farrakhan standing back up after the initial fall of the Nation of Islam. So, very quickly, I'd like to read the Honorable Minister Farrakhan's official letter about our dear brothers. So, Minister Farrakhan, National Representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Nation of Islam, on the passing of the Minister Jabril Muhammad, in the name of Allah, the Merciful. The Nation of Islam has lost a great minister, a great teacher, a great brother, a great friend, and a great helper to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And to me, personally, words will never be adequate enough to describe what this man has meant to our nation, to the messenger, to me, and to the cause of Islam. I pray that Allah will give me what he desires me to say to the world, a national to national service to honor our brother Minister Jabril Muhammad at the National Center, Masariam, which will be held at a date and time forthcoming. Assalamu alaikum. I am your brother and servant, who is Farrakhan, the Honorable Minister was Farrakhan's servant, to the Lost Foundation of Islam in the West. Very quickly, Tariq, a quick story, and I don't think you know this. So, my mother and father, when they were pregnant with me, had a dinner with Brother Student Minister Jabril, and because of how they were received in that conversation, they decided to name me after him specifically. Wow. So when I found out, it definitely hit me, but we want to make sure that this is a show and this is a platform he can be proud of, and hope that you all are very proud of and take a lot from tonight's platform and what we discussed. So thank you all for tuning in.
Absolutely, bro. And that's a beautiful story. As a matter of fact, you know, Brother Minister Jabril has left a legacy on the STEM Files. He's had family members on here. Our beloved sister Naima Kushmir, one of his children, Dr. Children, who is a meteorologist, has been on the STEM Files for about 3-4 times now, and his legacy has definitely left its trace on the STEM Files and in the work we do on this platform. So may Allah forever be pleased with our dear brother. So let's get right to it. We have a very special guest on with us this evening, Dr. Boyce Watkins. He is a financial expert, entrepreneur, media mogul, a whole lot of things. And we're going to be talking about, just how Black people can use science and technology, because this platform is about science and technology, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to kind of pivot what Dr. Boyce Watkins is really known for talking about and pivot it towards STEM in a sense. So I'm excited for tonight's program. We have the Black Math Academy in here with us. We have Save His Day 2X, I think, watching us. And family, please drop your locations and what city and what state you represent as you're watching the STEM Files. But let us stop yapping. This show is not about us. It is about our guests. So Dr. Boyce Watkins, thank you so much for joining the platform. How are you, sir?
Thank you, brothers, for having me. I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. And I think about as you were talking about your brother Jabril and Minister Farrakhan and just all these people that mean so much to the community. I still think about how God somehow made it almost accidental that when I moved to Chicago in 2013. The person that was kind of managing me at the time, I said, look, I was a person who was working all the time. I'm a financial scientist, right? Because we use the scientific method to do our research and all that. And so I was just in the lab all the time, just always working. So I just said, just find me a place in Chicago, anywhere. I don't care, just whatever. And so she found the place and I liked it. I went to visit. I was like, oh, this is nice. And I moved in and I'm the kind of person that doesn't care what kind of carpet, what kind of, like, nothing. Just, I got a bed and a big screen TV to watch the games on. I'm all right. And so I went out for a walk one day, and I said, I feel like this. I've been in this neighborhood before, when I visited Chicago. And so I'm walking a couple blocks, and then I said, wait a minute, Barack Obama's house was 2 blocks from where I live. And then I walked a couple blocks the other direction. I said, I think that's Minister Farrakhan's house. And so just literally without me even planning it, I ended up living around the corner from the minister, and I got a chance to come over there a couple of times, and I'm telling you that you know what it is. The brothers from the nation don't mess around; they run deep, so you can't just go creeping around the house and stuff. And so so I would go over there, I'll tell you what. I think the best conversation I ever got a chance to have was when I got to sit with the minister for a while and just draw that wisdom. And what really impressed me was that I'd never really seen a person at that stage in life who could just have that kind of energy for such a sustained period of time. Like the same energy and passion he has when he's speaking to 10,000 people, he had that same energy and passion when it was just me and him, and that says a lot to me. I saw the same thing with people like Cornel West. And we have these people in the community that may have differing, points of view, but these are people that just, I think, are beacons of light, because I think that a lot of those skills in terms of energy management and focus and commitment, that's transferable. Like I really think that every black man on the planet should just find some person that, or group of individuals that they can look to and say, okay, I'm going to try to match that energy. It's like being trained to be a prize fighter or an athlete or anything like that. Except we need those intellectual athletes too, which we do have. They just don't get the same amount of attention as basketball and football players. But I just really think that same sort of fiery commitment and fearlessness and strength and all that, just that soldier mindset, that makes us unstoppable. I really believe that. I believe that we cannot let the world feminize us. So I just, that was just a thought that went through my head as you were speaking earlier. I was really impressed by that.
All praise to Allah. We appreciate your testimony of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. That was highly, greatly appreciated. It's always good to have unexpected gems come through on the STEM files, and that was definitely one of them. And with us being followers of students of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan and followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we are very, very serious about representing him in a way that is not only positive, but also nation building in the sense of our activity. So we didn't bring you to a platform to just, talk about nothing. We brought you to this platform to talk about, science and technology, of course, and definitely appreciation for the Nation of Islam, but also how you've been able to use STEM or science and technology to build your own personal wealth. So we'll definitely go into that. But just to kind of set the tone for tonight's program, right? We have people like Dr. Lonnie Johnson, right? Brothers like, Tech is the New Black, and Freddie Figures, who developed his own technology company, smartphones and other types of devices. These are individuals who have been able to use science and technology to build a great amount of, not a great amount, but a good amount of wealth, right? They are not poor by any means. And these brothers have been able to take what they've learned in college or wherever and capitalize on that and build a legacy for their family. So what would you say is the first step for someone who is in the sciences, a chemist, a mathematician, an engineer, or what have you, to really take what they know out of college? Because just because you went to college doesn't mean you know how to build wealth.
Right.
Right?
In fact, sometimes college makes it harder for you to build wealth.
Right. So come on. So give us some, some insight as to, what are the top 3 things that somebody can do in these fields to guarantee or to put them on a path towards wealth?
I can't say I have a ready-made list of 3 things, but I'm gonna let God talk through me, and whatever comes out comes out. Um, I would say this, one of the things about being a scientist is that people have to understand that when you're trained in science, you have a leg up on everybody else. I've taught on college campuses, and there's a difference between, say a major in a social science versus somebody who's a major in like engineering. And, the engineering students, they really get rigorous training. Like, you can't go to college and mess around and get a degree in engineering. You can't. Whereas, I knew some people that were studying business management, who studied 2 hours a week and would still find a way to get by. In engineering and mathematics, things like that, it's really hard to fake it. And the level of rigor required to get through is just much, much higher. So what happens is that you have to know that there's a difference between being smart and thinking big, right? You have some people who are very smart, and what happens is, and I saw this a lot with a lot of PhDs, some of the smartest people on the planet. What they would do is they would do really small things really, really well. Their ability to think big, their ability to sort of be imaginative and bold and have all these other intangibles required for high levels of success had been kind of killed off because they were spending all their time focusing on some tiny little problem. Sometimes it was a problem that only maybe 20 people on Earth even cared about. And I saw that, and I felt like that was a little bit of a waste. Um, so if I had a choice between being a highly intelligent person who thinks small versus a person of a mediocre intelligence who thinks big, I'd rather be the person with mediocre intelligence who thinks big, because whatever they do, they're going to do bigger things, right? So you're talking about building big wealth or whatever it is that people want to do, big platforms, big schools, big anything. So I would say that that's the first thing, right? Science requires an attention to detail for sure, but you can't let that attention to detail to cause you to have a very limited scope and perspective. One example is Steve Jobs was a big visionary, right? When he created Apple, and he worked with this engineer. I forgot his name. It doesn't matter. But this engineer could make those circuit boards. I don't know if it was Wojciech, whatever his name is. I don't remember his name. But anyway, he would make these circuit boards. And Jobs saw the big picture. He said, man, if I can take these, things, I can pay this guy $50 per board, and then I can go back and I can sell these for 500, right? I can make a killing. That's what he did. And all the engineer was thinking about was, I just like it. I just like science. I just like computers, and that's it. Whereas Jobs was seeing, Apple and the big vision, right? And, yeah. So I think that when you are a scientist, whatever your field is, one thing that's essential in my view is that you have to understand how many transferable skills you gain by being a good scientist. If the thing you're doing isn't fulfilling you or isn't giving you what you want, you could take that same rigor, the same scientific method, the same analytical ability, and apply that to a lot of things. Like, for example, sometimes I used to play competitive poker, and I was good. I've won some tournaments with hundreds of people in them. It's a great game of psychology, strategy, and math. Well, being a scientist helped me be a great poker player, because I knew how to understand and analyze the dynamics of the game and who was doing what and how to intimidate people, how to read signals and send misinformation, and it was fascinating, right? So I think that that's the first thing you got to understand is that learning that science, whatever it is, whether you're talking about a dentist or an engineer or everything in between, you've gained a skill set that can be applied to a lot of things. Another thing I would look at too is look at the difference. Look at Elon Musk, for example. Elon Musk is an engineer who happens to be one of the richest people on the planet. Elon easily, if he were thinking differently, he could have easily just been a guy who worked for Apple and was like the best programmer in his department, and making, maybe $250,000 a year or something, right? Really thinking that he'd reached the heights of his profession, right? What led Elon to become that billionaire, multi-billionaire, was that he took that scientific skill that he had and he used that to help him understand technology, which allowed him to scale what he was doing. So you scale it, and all that's happening really is you're doing the same little thing, same little transactions, but you're doing it like a million times, right? So I sell you a $5 product, but I sell a million of them. Well, guess what? I got $5 million now, right? Which is very different from, say, the other ways of thinking that I grew up around, like, where you're trading time for money. Okay, if you work 1,000 hours, you make $40 an hour, you get $40,000. But actually, the better way to make money is through things like systems. And who understands systems better than STEM folks, right? We understand. We can analyze systems. We can break it down And so I would encourage anybody that is a scientist or has children who are scientifically oriented, approach wealth building just like you would approach any other science. You mentioned being a scientist of the heart. Well, you can study the systems that cause the heart to operate and keep analyzing and breaking down and seeing how those systems connect, and then figuring out the most efficient way to train those systems or to fix those systems. Right. Well, wealth and economics is a system. Capitalism is a system. Right. And so when I look at capitalism and I look at wealth and I look at economics and all that, I just say, okay, let's look at this system and figure out where the money's at, how to position yourself to receive it, and why Black folks don't get the share that we deserve. And then what happens is it just becomes abundantly clear to me. It's very like the way I view the whole wealth thing is that it's actually quite easy to build lots and lots and lots and lots of wealth if you simply apply certain things like time. Like time is the same way you have certain types of food where they say add water. Like you take some powdered potatoes or something and they say add water, and then somehow it turns into mashed potatoes, something like that, right? Well, wealth is the same way. You take all this hard work and this ingenuity, and then you add time, and then eventually it turns into wealth. And so for example, one of the things we do in the Black Business Schools, we have something called a $5 a day investing plan, where literally I just say, okay, here's all you do. You just set on autopilot, automatically deposit $35 a week or more into some sort of S&P 500 mutual fund. I even tell the students what to buy. I say, look at SPY, which is an S&P 500 fund, where you're invested in the strongest companies in America. They're not going to lose money. They know how to make money. So you're tying your fate onto them. You're tying your boat onto them. And another one is VOO, Victor Oscar Oscar, which is a Vanguard fund. Buy that consistently and just make sure you don't sell. Make sure every week you buy at least $35 a week. Set it on autopilot, and then just don't forget about it. And then pour in the last ingredient, which is time. Right? After 10 years, you got about $29,000 in liquid wealth, give or take a couple thousand. After 20 years, you got $102,000 in liquid wealth. After 30 years, you have $250,000 in liquid wealth. Anybody can do it. At least 99% of us can do it because $5 a day, you can't even buy a Popeye's chicken value meal for $5 a day, right? For $5, right? So when people say, well, black people can't afford to invest, I say, but can black people afford chicken? And and we know they can afford chicken because we know Popeyes makes billions from our community, right? So I just say, don't argue with me, please. I'm the doctor. Just trust my judgment on this. So I think that for scientists, approach building wealth the same way you approach any sort of scientific inquiry. And what you will find is that just like everything else, it has a formula. Figure out the formula.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that was a good 15-minute opener.
I know. I didn't know if I wanted the long answer or the short one.
We appreciate you, bro. You want to take over real quick?
Very quickly, you gave us. Well, thank you for opening this up that way. You had my mind going in several different directions. You made me think about three core sciences that were taught in the Nation of Islam, but kept us the people: science of business, science of warfare, science of mating. You also brought up capitalism, and a question that I had, based on my sifting social media and seeing where a lot of our people's minds are as far as Black liberation. I see a lot of what appears to me as equating Black capitalism or increased Black capitalism to Black liberation. My question to you is there a difference between Black capitalism and Black liberation? If so, what is that difference, and why is it important for us as a people to understand if we want to be successful in our liberation struggle?
Yeah, let me tell you this. Whenever anybody tells me that I'm a Black capitalist, I have to correct them and say, no, I'm not, because I know too much about capitalism to be fully committed to it. Capitalism is very, very powerful economically. It's a great way to make money. You can almost think about it, but it's almost like a type of economic gangsterism. Gangsters and mafia families, they know how to make money. They know where to find the money. They go beat you up and take it. And they end up, driving the nice cars and having the fancy suits and all that. But there's a lot of damage that comes with that, a lot of pain, a lot of oppression, a lot of mistreatment, a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of warfare, a lot of consequences that come to that type of approach to making money. So I am not a capitalist, actually, because especially in America, capitalism is what's going to destroy America. Capitalism, the gap between the rich and the poor has continuously accelerated over time. The government debt is now at $32 trillion. Our debt to GDP ratio in 1960 was about 52%. In 1980, it dropped to 34%. Debt to GDP is like debt to income, basically. You know, people know they look at debt to income when you buy a house. Now that debt to GDP ratio that used to be 34% is now at 122%. Right. So literally, we are drowning ourselves in debt. And a lot of this is because we have so much capitalism in the society that rich people get offended when you ask them to pay an extra 1% in taxes to help the government, you know, get out of its deficits. And then the pandemic, they were just throwing money around, sloshing it around. The pandemic was the biggest economic robbery in the last 50 years in terms of all the fraud. There was $200 billion worth of PPP loan fraud. That was predictable because they were throwing out all this money, and it was really a trap. It was a setup because they made it so easy to get the money that people thought they could just lie on the paperwork and get that money. And they don't understand when the government comes back and tries to recoup their lost funds, they're going to send you to prison 10, 20 years. That's why you see some of these social media influencers that were driving around in Bentleys and Benzes and all that.
Straight to jail.
And Rolexes, yeah, they're going to jail, right? But it's entrapment because they made it, they set it out there, they put the bait out there, and then people grab the bait, and then they come back and get the money later. It's terrible. So long story short, our country is very bad with money. It goes all the way to the very top. And also capitalism creates a mindset of just tremendous greed. It's very, very sad to me because most of these social problems in terms of a lot of the homelessness and starvation and, working class people, they can't even get by on minimum wage. These problems can easily be solved if we just simply just learn the meaning of the word enough. You know, we don't know that. You know, you got people running around here with $100 billion in the bank. And if you take $2 billion of it to go keep some people alive, they get offended. Like, oh, you're violating my rights. And or you look in the healthcare system, we spend more on healthcare than every other country on earth by a long shot. But our healthcare system, the quality of it is ranked about 31st or 32nd behind Costa Rica and a lot of third world countries. So it's so capitalism has not served America well. It's allowed opportunity, right? See, that's the other thing too. We think that that somehow some people, not everybody thinks this way. Like, this is why I love my brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam, because I don't get that energy of victimhood. I get the energy that where we see our potential and we know all the great things we can do. That's what draws me to that energy, because I'm not trying to be no black man sitting around here complaining about how the white man won't let me do nothing. Right? I don't bow to another man that way. That's never going to happen. So effectively, generally speaking, capitalism also, while it certainly creates a lot of problems and toxicities in our society, it does create a lot of opportunities. You can't tell me that a person, like, for example, I've never met a white man who told me I could not read a book if I wanted to. I never met a white man who told me I couldn't take care of my kids. I never met a white man who told me I couldn't start a business. That man, I've never run into him, and if I met him, I'd probably beat him up. So the point of the matter is to say that that some of this mindset that we have, that America is a country that has no opportunities, it's just wrong. And I encourage people to kind of reconsider that. So with that being said, here's the thing about capitalism. It is a powerful economic engine. It's like a sports car but unfortunately in America, imagine having a sports car where you're driving the car 220 miles an hour down the road. You know, you're going faster than you could have otherwise, but you're going to crash. And when you crash, it's going to hurt. You're going to hurt somebody. Why not take that sports car, though? Imagine, though, if you say, I'm not going to go 200 something miles an hour. That's crazy. But I will go 140 miles an hour or 110, right? And I'm going to make sure I'm safe, safety first, seat belts, GPS systems, whatever we got to put on this car to make it safe. But we're going to be rolling down this road. That makes more sense to me, right? That's a little more logical. And so free enterprise is where the opportunity is. That's where the power is. If you look back at Black Wall Street and how O.W. Gurley created Black Wall Street and the culture he created within Black Wall Street, it was not a capitalist culture. It was not one of those win at all costs. I got to have it all. I got to be number one, right? Capitalism is gluttonous. It doesn't, companies, think about this. There are companies that will make $10 billion, and then next year they'll make $9 billion, and they'll say, well, this year was a complete failure because we only made $9 billion. And I'm thinking, like, you still made $9 billion. That's a lot of money.
Right.
But what happened was the stock price, because of capitalism, was based on the assumption that you're not going to make 10 billion next year. You're going to make 11 billion. And if you don't make 11 billion, then you have failed. That is not true, right? And also you don't have to be number one. So I'm a fan of, especially for our community, because we're trying to build and we're trying to grow. I'm a fan of us studying our own economic history in this country and around the world to learn ways where you can be prosperous and successful without it being just this always competitive and always sort of I mean, it's okay to be competitive without the outside world, but I don't think we have to be competitive with each other. Like you, if you're doing well as a black man and I'm doing well as a black man, how come we can't both do well together and replace that competitive energy with collaborative energy and talk about how well we can do working together? That's what Black Wall Street was all about. O.W. Gurley set up rules that incentivize all of the business owners to support each other and help each other succeed. And instead of sort of making it something where some group was going to dominate everybody else. So I think that black capitalism will not lead to liberation. Black capitalism will lead to more enslavement, because capitalism is designed to enslave people. They do it all across America. The student loan crisis is a great example. That's what they do. It's a modern day sharecropping. They get you so deep in debt that this is why they're never going to cancel student loans. Remember, it's their fault. The same people you're asking to cancel student loans are the same ones who locked you into those loans, who caused the crisis in the first place. It's like asking the guy who put roaches in your house to come and be your exterminator. No, he makes money by you having roaches, and he cleans just enough roaches out of your house for you to really think you need him. Well, really, he needs to be as far away from your house as possible. So they're never going to end the student loan crisis because they need people to be forced to go to work. After the pandemic, they couldn't get anybody to go to work because everybody started sitting around and reflecting on how much of their life they started thinking. Karl Marx had this critique of capitalism, and I agree with him 100% on this. He said, you don't understand that when you're sitting around and you're just a laborer all the time and you're working for these wealthy people all day, you're missing your life. You're missing your children. You're missing all the things that matter in life. And so people started thinking about that during the pandemic. So what happened? After the pandemic, a lot of people didn't want to go to work anymore. So they were like, damn, how do we get people to go back to work? Well, that's right. Well, the student loans, they're going to have to start paying their loans again. And once that economic weight hits them, they're going to be forced right back into our arms. Okay. So ultimately, what I would say is that in general, black capitalism is not going to liberate anybody. Capitalism is designed to enslave people, especially poor people and working class people. You see it all around America. But black free enterprise and black economics, if done diligently and ethically, can liberate us from a lot of the oppression that we experience as a community. And that's my 2 cents on that. I know I talked about. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I got to give you the whole answer. So I hope that's okay.
But we got a clip that we found on your YouTube channel that we wanted to play.
Okay.
Because it spoke volumes to us, really, because you were talking about, of course, the trades, and then you were also talking about going to college and not being able to properly use your degree to free yourself, in a sense, So I wanted to kind of put that up there, and then we're going to get your response on that, as well as